and welcome to another episode of the Business Pulse with Creston Pedable, where we discuss strategies and systems to help businesses work better and smarter. My name is Zainab Akorede. I am a senior associate with the management consulting practice here at Creston Pedable. And today I have two seasoned experts here to talk about management consulting, the intricacies and the depths to it. I have Tina Adediran, a senior manager within the management consulting practice, and Farida Danjuma, an assistant manager within the same practice. Clearly, we're three powerful women leading management consulting in this space. It's wonderful to have you here, ladies.
It's fantastic to be here. I'm happy that we're finally having these conversations.
Thank you so much for having us, and we're excited to get into it.
Just like Tina said, I think it's very important that we're having this conversation because I've had people come up to me, ask me what management consulting is about. And when I've given like an entire thesis, they now look at me like, okay, so what exactly do you do? So it's good that we're having this conversation. So I'm going to start with you, Tina, because you've been in this practice for longer. What is management consulting?
So I like to think about management consulting generally as solving business problems. So it's about getting into the depth of what a business does, how it can do it better, how it can improve its performance. You can call us doctors if you like, doctors for business. The point is really get into what the problem of the business is and find a solution that is apt for that business, for that industry, to ensure that the business is able to succeed.
That's really good. Do you want to add anything here, Farida?
Yeah, sure. Just like Tina said, anybody that asks me about management consulting, for me, I just try to simplify it. So it's just simply like the way when you get sick or you have a problem, you visit your doctors. But this, we're more like business consultants. So when your business is facing any issues, there's a big transformation coming up, you want to improve your efficiency and your sustainability, you come to us and we tailor your problem. So with management consulting, our solutions are very tailored. You can come with this, you can be playing in the same industry, but you are going also through the same problem. But when we look at the intricacies, we cannot use the same solutions on people. So it's very really tailored to what you're facing and the kind of business you're running.
So that just basically means that it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Fantastic. But just to add to what Farida said, people typically think that you go to management consultants only when you have a problem. You can also be proactive about seeking that kind of help. Just the way, you mentioned doctors. So just the way you carry out a comprehensive health check annually is the same way you can look into your business. Where can we improve our performance? Where can we optimize our performance? So sometimes you're carrying out a proactive activity to be able to ensure that the business is perhaps future ready, or the business is able to take advantage of opportunities that are within the sphere at that point in time. So yes, we do solve problems, but we also proactively look into the future and ensure that your future future ready to succeed.
Okay. So in your career, what would you say is the biggest misconception about management consultants?
We do love a great presentation, right? So people, and I wouldn't even say just management consulting generally. People typically think that consultants are those people who just charge you to give you a bulky report, and then at the end of the day, that report sits on a shelf. And to some extent, for some people, that ends up being the case. But if you're going to reach out to a consultant to provide solutions to your business in whatever way, you equally need to be ready to do the work. You need to co-create with the consultants. They shouldn't just create something and give it to you and you're expected to run with it. You should be part of the process of developing those documentations, developing those strategies, developing those processes, or whatever it is, that is being done to solve that problem. That's the only way that as management of a firm or a founder or business owner, that's the only way you're going to own the implementation of those recommendations. So yes, people think that management consultants will just come and wave a magic wand and all their problems will go away. But regardless of all the work that is put in, if you don't put in effort in that implementation process, chances are that you might as well have burnt the money you paid the consultant. So the myth I would say is that we're magicians, because we're not. We get in there, we understand your problem, we work with you to create a solution. Sometimes we go a step further and work with you to implement that solution. But normally you can do it yourself if you're intentional about it. Until of course that solution becomes business as usual. But we don't perform magic, and certainly not witchcraft. So we have to be there with you. You have to be there with us to create those solutions and to be able to implement them. Otherwise, it's a
might
whole
as well
lot
be
of
for nothing.
yeah.
Do you agree with that, or do you have any?
Yeah, I
thoughts?
do. And another thing I hear a lot is people using the word, oh, management consultant, they just boo. They will just like write a fancy report for you, and like you just like, we know what the client wants to see, so let's just tailor it to what they want to see so that you're just happy. But it's not. And it also goes to what Tina has said. You have to be able to work with the consultant even from the beginning, understand what they are doing. You own the business, you know what your pinpoint is. You work with the consultant also. And another thing is that I feel like most companies, I don't know if it's because of the price or they're trying to cut costs, they don't really go for implementation, and that's what is very important. We've done the work now, allow us to be there for another at least 6 months to help you with the implementation and the process of like really fitting into what you are doing. So for me, maybe the meat is we're not just designing documents.
Yeah.
We're giving actual solutions.
Okay, so getting into the work now. I am a business. I've just come into the country from another country. I've come into Nigeria. I want to set up, and I'm seeing that okay, the operations that I was running in the previous country doesn't work here. How do you come in?
So I mean, I would say that is very seriously likened to Nigeria. We do like to copy the things that other countries of the world do without necessarily tailoring them to our environment. So that is the first problem. That in itself is a problem. So I mean, even within Nigeria, certain business ventures in the south or in the west will not work in the north. You have to tailor things. So you can't just copy something because it works somewhere else and then think that it's going to work here. Even if it's your business model, you have to recognize that every business model requires adaptation to the environment that you intend for that business to exist. So for example, that happens. I mean, the starting points for me would even be, is there a market demand for your product, or is there a market demand for your service? Because the fact that that service sells in Europe doesn't mean it's going to sell here. So if you have gone through that stage of at least testing the market and recognizing that you do have a demand, then we can now take it a step further. Because at that point, it means that we now understand what the customer's preferences are. We get a sense of what we need to provide to the customer for the customer to find it appealing and be willing to pay for it. So beyond that, we then come up to, okay, so how do you want to run this business? Is it self-financed? Do you need to raise funds? If we've gotten through, even again the finance part, then what is the structure of the organization? That's really where a lot of businesses miss it in Nigeria. And that's why from a family office perspective, we probably have less than 1% in terms of family offices that are doing great things within the business environment, because people just they just start and we wing it as we go. And Nigerians are
Put your two
resilient.
brothers together.
Yes,
and
you bring my cousin from somewhere who's done an MBA. Bring my wife, she handles the admin matters. For some reason, women are always the HR, always the people. So just there needs to be a formal structure, especially if a business is going to outlive you. You need to be able. So sometimes, yes, I know it seems cumbersome. Coming up with processes and trying to do things in a particular way. But the truth is, until those things become business as usual, you're going to be running a shop. I mean, even shops can be run efficiently, right? But you need to be able to look through those structures. Okay, so how do we want to run it? Yes, we run it like this in maybe UK or Edinburgh, wherever. But here we are. How do we run it here? What structures do we need? What organizational setting do we need? How many people do we need? Who do we need to head what skills are required to run the business? And again, we're not saying just go hire people that you don't need, but you need to look at it with quite a bit of detail to understand. You can run a lean structure, but it needs to be an effective structure. And it's a structure that has controls. It's a structure that is put together in such a way that you can go to sleep. Businesses shouldn't, I mean, yes, they keep us awake at night, but businesses should get to a point where they are running themselves, particularly without the startup founders or the business owners. And those structures that you put in place are the things that will get you to that point. So when we look at structures, we then get into processes, we then look at people. Then, of course, when we have put the processes together, we then think, okay, do we need technology? Do we need to automate certain processes so that some things can run by themselves? With the ability to automate business processes, it gives people more time to do more strategic things. What you find with a lot of businesses is that business owners are bogged down with day-to-day things and they lose sight of the strategic. So a lot of the time it seems like a lot, and perhaps it is. It's not easy to run a business anywhere, much less in Nigeria. But we say start small. It doesn't matter how small your business is. Build that structure around it. Automate certain things that you don't have to have people dealing with on a day-to-day, so that those things will just run by themselves. If it's an ERP that is required, if it's something bespoke, we're not saying go and jump on SAP or jump on Oracle or even Microsoft Dynamics. There are smaller systems that you can use, and then you can scale as the business begins to grow. But those structures really need to be in place because they're the foundational things that guarantee whether or not a business will outlive its first 5 years.
Wonderful. So I'm here, Farida. Tina has just said a lot. She mentioned structure, she mentioned strategy, the people, skills, and all that. And one thing I want to pick on particularly is the processes, right? So take me through that. So now this organization, we've established the strategy, they've hired the people. How do you take them through that process optimization? What happens at the beginning? What happens in the middle? What happens at the end?
So let me start by what business process optimization is all about. Business process optimization is now you have the company, right? So you're seeing it as how will I improve the way things are done in the company. So it's like you have processes already. Maybe you have like a process for invoicing, you have process for customer acquisition, you have different kind of processes. So now what the optimization does for you is how do I improve efficiency? How do I cut costs? How do I save time? So that's where business process comes into place. Because now businesses are not about working harder; they are about working smarter. Right? So you're looking at how am I going to save money? How am I going to work faster instead of spending 2 hours and 2 days trying to approve invoice? I can do 1 hour when I have like good processes in place, and it saves me time and cost. Really. So with business process, what we usually will do is to try and understand what the business does. How many departments do you have? Who are the people you have? Who heads what, right? After you've done that, you also want to ask the clients if they already have any like
existing
structured document in terms of process, right? If they do, what we usually do is we review it because with processes, you also have to constantly look at it as the business evolves or like as time changes, because things it might be expanding or it might be reducing. So like you need to
things
look at
change
that.
per time.
Yeah. So those changes you have to constantly review your processes. So your processes of 5 years ago may not work today. Yeah. So once you review it, we look at the gaps. Okay, what you have now, what are places that can be improved. So we're looking at best practice, we're looking at how your organization is structured and the business is your operations, how operations are conducted. After that, we come in to give you an optimizer. Meaning now we've seen what you have, we've seen the gaps in them.
SOP being what now?
Your standard operation procedures.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically that's where all your processes are broken down into bits per department and per work conducted in the department. So once we improve your process, we take you through it. So in those processes, there are like reporting lines, there are controls, the loops must be closed. So from literally when I open my laptop, am I sending reports every day? Am I sending a report every 3 hours? Who am I sending it to? Who needs to approve it? If it is approved, what do I do next? Till that document is closed, I can file it. Meaning that's the end of the process, right? So after we've done that, you have your optimized SOP. We do what is called the flow chart. Flow chart is like a Gantt chart of your SOP. So you don't have time to sit down and be looking at something
page document.
So what the flow chart is, it's really like a pictographic representation of your
what you have in
here. So, and that one is very easy to understand. Anybody can pick up. There are arrows there. It's like a roadmap. You see where it starts, you see where it ends, right? And it's also shorter, so it's easier for you to go through and accommodate yourself with. And after we do that, we allow for organizations to implement those processes so that we come back maybe usually 1 month, 3 months to see that you are really abiding by what is done in this. So if we say, oh, we are going to approve a financial, maybe your CFO is supposed to approve a document, and then we are going there, we are seeing that, oh, somebody just
filed it somewhere.
and then, okay, what is the next step? They've approved it, but nobody has signed the invoice, so, right? So meaning you are not doing it correctly. So yeah, that's basically it. Most people see business process, people with what we've seen for some clients we've worked with, they see business process as like a compliant document. It's not just about compliance. If you want to improve your business, you want to remain efficient, you want to save costs, you want to save time, you have to abide by it and invest in it, as you're seeing it as a way of improving your organization, not just as a compliant document.
That's really
And
good.
To add to that, what Farida said, it's also important to say that, sometimes because processes, and some organizations see it that way, which is why they don't even bother to implement it. They see it as creating bureaucratic bottlenecks. So even when we carry out those reviews, sometimes we're looking at, we're having conversations with the users and looking at things like, so did this process slow you down? Was there a situation whereby because you needed to follow through this process, you ended up losing out on a business, or getting a bad customer review and things like that. So we consider those as well. It's not just about, like Farida said, it's not really just about compliance. It's not just about how compliant are you with the process. It's about, is there any area of the process that you think slows down your work so that we can make adjustments? So those processes are not meant to impede your operational flow or your efficiency. They are meant to improve them. So anywhere that we find that sometimes processes become become a bottleneck, we're also quick to adjust those things in those particular areas. But it certainly is a very important process to go through, especially when you're establishing a new business. And like Farida said, it's not something you store in a shelf. It's something that guides your day to day. So another advantage of it, for instance, is I hold this office. If I leave and they have to hire somebody else, rather than having to train that person, or rather than that person coming in and doing things the way the person is used to doing them, the person can simply pick up the document and see it and run with it. And it's particularly important for operations like quick service restaurants, where your food is supposed to taste like your food, right? The quality control for producers as well, manufacturers, and everything is supposed to come out a particular way. So there needs to be a document that allows people to repeat certain things in exactly the same way, such that there's no disparity. So every organization that is big on quality, in terms of the fact that a finished product should be in a particular way, has to have processes. That's the only way to guarantee it. If not, anytime you hire a new person, they'll just come and do it the way they were doing it wherever they've come from. And that doesn't mean that that's the right way. Or that doesn't mean that that's the way that will provide or produce the products that you already know to produce. So it's a very key activity for any business to embark on, definitely.
A lot has definitely been shared. I'm surrounded by greatness, clearly.
Yeah, right.
So a question I'd like to ask, so with still on business process optimization, the different clients that you've worked with, what are some of the challenges that you face, because at the beginning we had mentioned that for many of these things to work as it pertains to management consulting, the consultants work with the clients also have to work with the consultants. So what are some of those challenges that you have faced with clients?
Client availability, I think, is my key challenge. Again, because they expect you to come and wave a magic wand and fix everything. Most times when you're sitting in their office, they are unavailable. Even when you're scheduling meetings, they're not as involved as they should be. And the truth is, when they are not, anything. It's not even just a process. It's a strategy. If it's even a recruitment, if they're not involved, and by the time they're finally seeing the person, there may not be a cultural fit with the organization, and it now seems as though the recruitment failed. But the recruitment met every documented qualification or every documented requirement. But culture is also important. So when you're hiring people, for example, there are things that you as the organization owner or a manager of the organization will look out for that a recruiter, for example, cannot see because they don't know what your culture is. So I would say that again, across almost all engagements, one of the most difficult parts of seeing it through to the end successfully is client engagement. It's very important that if you're paying for a consultant to work with you on anything, you have to try to make yourself available. And what I typically suggest is at least have a champion for every project within the organization. So even if it's not the subject matter experts within that particular field, just make sure there's a project champion within the organization who who will be available enough to take responsibility for the output, for the client feedback and things like that. Because it also takes, a lot of time. Because when you're waiting for approvals, you're waiting for them to say, okay, this works, this doesn't work. Sometimes you even feel like they finally approve it just so you can get off their back. Like they haven't really gone through it. But these people have been reminding me every week for the past 6
Might
weeks.
as well just move on.
Might as well just move on. And that is a challenge for both parties because if you don't take the time to look at it, you lose out on the value that you can potentially get us to give you. And of course, in the long run, does that document really help you if we're not there to hold your hand through it, or if you didn't understand it and absorb it well enough to implement it by yourself internally. So I would say one of my greatest challenges really as a consultant generally is client availability.
Is that same for you, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, and another thing I would like to touch on is resistance.
Yeah.
Some clients are very resistant to things. And at the beginning, when they come, they seem very open. Oh, yeah, we're ready. Let's not call it.
Recommend it.
And then recommend something, and they're like, oh no, this is not how our business do. Oh no. I'm like, well, you were ready. Like,
So what happened between you being ready and now?
This client, and it's very difficult because, like, that as the experts, that this will help them, right? But you also cannot fight with your client.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
you have to have find a way to balance it.
Be cautiously
Yes. So that's
There have been some instances where we have been cautiously insistent.
I think that also leads to change management. With each big project, clients should usually be ready to also implement change management in parallel, especially for a thing like process redesign. If an organization's people have been used to doing things in a certain way, and as the business owner or the business, management of the business, that it's not working, and people need to make a change, right? And then you just call consultants, but you don't take the team along. So of course there's going to be resistance to change. So with projects like that, project like change in strategy, cultural transformation and things like that, there has to be a parallel change management project going on. I mean, it might be by the same consultants, but the point is that there needs to be someone who's sensitizing the team, who's identifying champions within departments and making sure that everybody sees the value that the project is going to add to their bottom line. So change management, again, like we said, I mean, clients, apart from the big clients, clients don't really like to pay for these things. They feel like it's just, people are just come, you just want to bill me for something.
Give me a 72-page slide.
And bill me for something. But, these are things that they matter. They matter to the bottom line because at the end of the day, every organization's superpower is its people. Whether you're producing, whether you're servicing, whatever it is, your people are key. And if the people are not aligned in terms of value, in terms of output with the organization, at the end of the day, you're just running a losing race.
I mean, I'd also like to believe that while you have faced, clients on unavailability and resistance, there are also clients who have, been with you right from the jump up until the end.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It all has to be worth something.
Absolutely. I mean, that's definitely satisfying.
Mhm.
It's certainly satisfying when the clients are into it. I really want this. I want to get value out of it. I mean, we're such a firm that we're typically happy to do more. For us, the value we give to the work that we do is the fact that our client comes out satisfied and happy at the end of the day. And of course, at the end of the day, they're happy to refer us if their
To other
output
people.
was good. So of course, there are clients who get into those projects. And not to say that those clients are not busy, which is why they do it, but they're intentional and deliberate about the
About
fact
the
that I want to get output out of this. I want to get value out of it. And often enough that makes them put in the time. So kudos. I'm very happy to have I'm very happy to have those kinds of clients as well.
Okay. So you mentioned change management, and I just want to, pick your brain on that. So, in a situation where you go to an organization and there's something that they're trying to overhaul, but the owner hasn't communicated with, let's even say, his second in command. How do you handle that?
So there's obviously a lot of emotional intelligence that is required to be a consultant. I mean, sometimes even when you make a presentation to the board, the body language tells you that all is not well. We're not all on the same page about with regards to this project. Sometimes some people want it, some people don't. Maybe at the end of the day was a vote that got the project approved in the first place. So you can tell sometimes when these things happen, but you have to find a way to manage it. I mean, you carry out your risk analysis. You know who you need, who's responsible, who's accountable, who you just need to inform. You just need to identify, carry out a detailed stakeholder mapping to understand who's who wants what, and be there to hold their hand through it. I think that for me personally, in my experience, those stakeholders within an organization who are resistant are the ones you want to keep going back to let them see the value that the project is bringing.
This has been such an insightful session, and that, ladies and gentlemen, has been the Business Pulse with Creston Parable. Join us in our next episode as we continue to share insights on how businesses can succeed. See you next time.